back to Eschatology Matters, and we're doing a new series called Our Community, where we get to highlight and speak with some of the people and businesses that have partnered with and supported Eschatology Matters. So today I'm joined with Jared Payne from a Pilgrim's Coffer. So Jared, welcome, and I appreciate you chatting with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Jared, you came on as a partner really early on in Eschatology Matters, and in fact, your materials were at the conference when we first did it at the in the fall of last year. Isn't that right?
That's correct. Yep.
And I think it was to like all of the conference attendees. Give us a little introduction to not only yourself but Pilgrim's Coffer. What's that about? What does your business do? Give us a little walkthrough.
Yeah. So I've been doing a Pilgrim's Coffer, I guess probably in the neighborhood of 2 years now. Started out being um, pretty slow. It was really in my mind a design for kind of a personal repository of materials and things, and it just kind of grew legs from there. But I went to school and got my master's for tax accounting and did that in previous years for going on a decade, not quite. Um, and then I just felt like with family and things going on, I thought that that wasn't really where my heart was, where I wanted to be. And so, through the progress of a few years past that point, I wound up thinking my library was growing first of all, and I was spending a lot more time in theology, and I certainly have a passion for that, a growing passion, and um, pretty much wound up thinking that I was going to start something for my own benefit, mainly to store a lot of the materials that I was going through, to make things easier to find, to sort through. And that's really how a Pilgrim's Coffer started, which explains a little bit of the funny name, because I usually get a lot of questions
Right, right,
about
yeah,
that. But it was really just my idea of what am I doing here? What am I spending my time with here? And I thought, well, I'm just a pilgrim in this world, following Christ, and I wanted to be able to collect some of these of the materials that, as my library continued to grow, and make it easier. That's the tax accountant part in me, I guess, coming out and wanting to kind of make some order out of it, make things easier to find. And so I named it, well, it's a Pilgrim's Coffer. It's like my treasury where I'm placing some of the things that I have found that have been very helpful and that I will continue to want to go back to. So
hmm,
uh, from then, it grew into coming across materials, and with that, designs and things like that, that I thought, wow, you really don't see much out there like this anymore. You get into those old Victorian printings a lot of times, and you get some wonderful designs and things like that that I didn't see much of. So that's really explains a lot of my shirts, stickers, decals, mugs. A lot of that stuff was not intended for me to be to get into merchandise, but I would bring out some of these designs, and then people would say, "Hey, if you'll put that on a shirt, we'd
for
love.
sure.
I'd wear
And I
that."
think I
So,
think I saw you hoisting one of those mugs a second ago, didn't I, Jared?
yeah, yeah, one of my
There we go.
pottery mugs. Yep, yep.
So
And so,
I'm looking on your website right now, and you have an awful lot other than so you have the shop, you have bookstore, Pilgrim's Digest, you have resources, a library, and then a blog. It looks like you're running on there. Is that right?
yes, and I would say the library and the blog are get neglected a little bit too much. That's really what I would like to put more time into, but we're looking at getting into publishing this year, and to getting some books, some hardbound books printed up from some things that need to be reprinted in a in a nice quality fashion. That's one of the things in getting in having this older library that I've come to appreciate. And I think that there's enough people that would want, high quality, nicely bound books that will last generations. There's obviously publishers out there who do
Yeah,
that.
no,
But
Jared, tell me this though: who makes the cut for that sort of thing? Because you're talking about reprints then of I'm assuming like kind of Puritan era, or is that what's the time frame or era that you're looking at with those type of things?
well, so the basic, probably the best explanation of that is most of my library. Well, yeah, I would say by the number of volumes, most of my library are original Spurgeon prints,
Hmm.
which is a lot more than most people are aware of, because most of his works have even, I say works, a lot of, like a lot of the old preachers, the Riles and such, a lot of their material comes, the bulk of it comes from something they were already doing, like sermons or tracts, right?
Hmm.
So Spurgeon, everybody knows Spurgeon, but his breadth is just so wide and he touches so many different people and time periods. He references them. You know, they say at the height he had 12,000 volumes in his home library type
Hmm.
thing. And I've actually got a few of the volumes that um, have the book plates in there that certify they were out of his library. The bulk of those you would find if you went out to the Spurgeon library in Kansas City.
I was about to say Midwestern will send armed guards to your residence if you let them know
Yeah,
you've got some of his extant volumes at your home.
yeah, yeah. That's right. When they got split up a little bit, probably from the UK, and then William Jewell College had most of his stuff, and then that got transferred to Midwestern. But really, he's been the focus as I've picked up just ancillary volumes. I've got a lot of the Nichols reprints of the standard Puritan Divine sets, which doesn't escape his grasp because he was friends with James Nichol, and he's the one who encouraged Nichol to reprint those.
Hmm.
So if Spurgeon hadn't encouraged, we may not have that set, which many of those were photolithographed and reprinted by Banner of Truth.
Okay, yeah,
Some of them since, they've tried to retypeset, but a lot of them, the volumes that are out there are still the photolithographed copies of Nichols' set. There was a few of those sets that were by some other publishers, whether it be T&T Clark or somebody. Calvin, of course, that stuff's Calvin, that Society for the Calvin. But but largely, I would say the bulk of them are probably the Nichols reprints. But yeah, so he just touches so many people and reference so many people, reference volumes, many of which haven't been reprinted, and so I would say it centers around a lot of Spurgeon, but there were a lot of volumes that he referenced or that they used or wrote because of the pastor's college that I am interested in trying to get published. So I would just they'll probably be through myself just under a Pilgrim's Coffer publishing. But that's kind of the goal there. So it will probably be able to be tied back to Spurgeon in one way or another, but kind of what isn't to some degree, just because he was such a big proponent of the reformers and the Puritans
for
and
sure.
so forth. So
So you've got reprints going on. Obviously, you've got the merchandise. What else is on the horizon for Pilgrim's Coffer? Like, what sort of projects do you have in the near future that you're excited about?
well, the merchandise, of course, is just kind of pops up. I started. I made some molds and I've made some castings of my little miniature Spurgeon bus that were I have some of the original busts from 1878. And so I've started selling some of those just because I kept having people see some photos of my bookcase and say, "Where did you get those?" And I thought, well,
Right.
eventually I'm just going to have to make some of those. But yeah, a lot of the merchandise really isn't my focus as much as that's the bulk of what's for sale on the site. My main priorities have been the Pilgrim's Digest, which I do with
Yeah.
a monthly subscription, or people can purchase that individually. Just kind of a la carte issues. I'll have people pick up. We went through 5 months of the Doctrines of Grace, and so that largely centered around Spurgeon's sermon and then some of the sermons of individuals he had come to the Metropolitan as soon as they opened the tabernacle. But it's just a good 40 pages going through kind of those doctrines. Maybe it's not conclusive. It's not all encompassing, but it does cover. It is a good view, I think, of those doctrines, specifically as Spurgeon and some of his cohorts would have had explained it. But I really enjoyed going through those. And we will continue to do the monthly digests for the foreseeable future. I could probably use, I kind of, it's like you wish you had multiples of yourself with all the work that you have to sitting out there to do. I've got years and years worth of work, sitting in front of me that I would like to do. Right. That'll take me some time to go through, but yeah, pretty much the digest and publishing. And what by reprinting, I largely am aiming at retypesetting a lot of these works that if they have been reprinted, they've been, photolithographed or copied. Right. So, but, while I like reading a lot of the older, I say original prints. I don't necessarily mean first edition if you're talking about Puritans or Reformers. I'm fine with those, but I mainly mean things that were printed in the Victorian era. Most of the font's pretty good, but some of it can be pretty small and
challenging.
Yeah, and you get some ink blotches and missing things, and there's some accidents in there. So a lot of it, when I've kind of polled people, they've kind of, I think the majority have said they would like to have retypeset editions. Very cool. And I think in the long run that will be better for people to have as kind of a standard to read clean and clear, and be able to bring that forward, because there's a lot of material out there these days when people do, if they do try to scan some of the originals, these OCR text recognition programs and things, they don't pick up a lot. Right. And so it takes a lot of editing. And so it's easy to find a lot of errors in things that have been scanned from the old materials. So
gotcha.
It's my attempt to remedy some of that anyway.
No, good. That's helpful. So, yeah. Jared, if somebody is unfamiliar with Pilgrim's Coffer, I mentioned the website, but maybe you can give them that street address and anywhere else that they can follow you and your work as you've got these projects rolling out.
Yep. So we're just at www.apilgrimscoffer.com. I'm on all the social medias, so Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And so I try to be pretty active on those, but I'm largely not putting, tons of material on there, but just kind of as I go through my library, I'd like to drop quotes and give little hints of people to look some different places, or just even see what I'm kind of doing, what I'm daily going through and maybe reading a little bit of. Yep. But yeah, we're always around. I'd love to spend more time with people, honestly, and that's been a real blessing in my work so far, just with friends that I have, pastors that I've come into contact with that have found some of the work beneficial and helpful, and so that's been the biggest encouragement for me. Very to go cool. Along is I want it to be useful, I want it to be edifying, and want to give people a resource to pull from where they can. Yeah,
absolutely. No, but we're grateful for your partnership, Jared. And if you guys don't follow Jared, check him out. Check out A Pilgrim's Coffer, and looking forward to seeing those projects rolling out, brother. That sounds exciting.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.